Hillary Clinton, in the very early years of the Obama administration, she was part of man-caused disasters, overseas contingency operations, workplace violence, this insane reluctance not to say radical Islamic terrorism, and really, but for Donald Trump today, she was shamed into finally saying it. Why is there this resistance? It's almost pathological at this point.
Well, I think there are a couple of different streams that come together here. One is the Chamberlain-like failure to see reality because it's too scary. I mean, if you really recognize the size of our enemies, their intensity, their willingness to die for their cause, their eagerness to kill us, the level of hate they represent, it's scary. And I think an awful lot of folks like Obama are just frankly frightened to deal with reality. Second, if you're a genuine left-winger, you assume the real enemy has to be the United States. And so you wander around and give speeches in Cairo and elsewhere, and you say, oh, they can't really be that bad. But they are. And third, if you have grown up in a world where you're not allowed to make judgments, I mean, who are we to decide that wanting to kill us is wrong? The whole effort of the last 50 years to create situation ethics makes it very difficult. So let's start with a simple model. Somebody walks in the room and says, I believe in Sharia, which is the most radical Islamic law going back to the 7th and 8th century. I believe in ISIS. I would like to destroy the United States. In my judgment, that person is a traitor to the United States and should lose their citizenship. In the judgment of the left, that person's kind of interesting and they have cool ideas, and they're artists, and why should we judge them?
Let me go to some very specific things here, because Hillary Clinton claims she's the big champion of women's rights and LGBT rights and so on and so forth. Well, not only was she finally shamed today into saying radical Islam, which is only convenient for politics, but she was also for the first time actually mentioned countries by name. For example, the Clinton Foundation took up to $25 million from Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's one country. Then they took up to, $5 million from countries like Qatar, $1 to $5 million. Then they took, $1 to $5 million from Brunei. Now, all three of those countries, Mr. Speaker, have the death penalty for people who are gay and lesbian. She's also, in the case of Saudi Arabia, women cannot drive. Women cannot leave the house without a man's permission, go to school or go to work. You have a morality police. You need 4 male eyewitnesses to prove rape for a woman. She's never criticized these countries. She's taken their money, and they seem to have bought her silence. And only now that she's caught does she reverse course, only today. What do you make of that?
Well, I think what you're seeing is the breakdown of a system which has been around for 40 or 50 years. I mean, for 40 or 50 years, the Saudis were so rich, and their Gulf state allies were so rich, that they could basically give money to universities, give money to companies, give money to lobbyists, give money to foundations like the Clinton Foundation, and they bought a benign willingness to pretend that they were good people. I mean, the objective fact is that the Saudi government is in the early stages of an enormous crisis.
But she took money from countries that are abusive to the very constituencies or demographics she's seeking to vote for. She actually called Donald Trump shameful and disgusting, and that he's not a supporter of the LGBT community. I'm thinking, you taking $25 million from Saudi Arabia and not criticizing them, that's disgusting. That's shameful in my mind.
Well, look, I'm not sure disgusting is even an adequate word. I mean, now that we're finally, for the very first time, beginning to break through to have this conversation as a nation, we have to confront the reality. It's not just, by the way, the Saudis. Iraq, which we liberated, provides the death penalty for being homosexual. Afghanistan, which we liberated and then created a government, provides for the death penalty for homosexuals. I mean, the degree to which our State Department, which she was in charge of for 4 years, is totally passive in the face of terrible human rights violations